Delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good? I can't even tell it's healthy. How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket Studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppel Chevrolet GMC, and we have some really big savings for you right now. Our new crossover sale is underway. New Terrains, Equinoxes, and Trailblazers starting at $23,290. That's right, $23,290. Also, we've continued our huge Sierra and Silverado truck sale with over $10,000 off new pickups. You heard right, over $10,000 off list. Coppel truly has a small town feel with big city deals. We're right down 144th Street or at CoppelCars.com. Stock numbers G260980 and C119824.
This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakovic.
Hey, we'll be with you once again, talking some pro wrestling here on 93.7 The Ticket. We're going to do it live following an excellent high school hoops matchup there to get ready for state basketball. Good time in the sports here. It's a great time as we count down to WrestleMania. And one of those big steps over here is Elimination Chamber. Following Royal Rumble kind of sets you up. It's kind of funny because Royal Rumble gets all the kind of the credit for being maybe the Final Four, I suppose. In earning your way to WrestleMania, like it's known somewhat outside of the sport, I suppose, but outside the WWE realm. Whereas Elimination Chamber, I don't think has quite made it into that popularity, but it does the same thing. I mean, you set up some WrestleMania matches, and we got that. I'm Jake Bachman, by the way, your host of Nuclear Heat, named in honor of Dominic Mysterio, basically, the reaction he gets out of the crowds. Historically, not just Dominic Mysterio, but that type of heel heat. Joined by Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena. Augie, thanks for joining me again for another review of an interesting week within the WWE.
Yeah, of course. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, we usually just break right into it and talk about the week as it goes in chronological order. We're not going to spend too much time on SmackDown. Just a couple notes from that, as it did set up Elimination Chamber from Perth, Australia. One matchup that comes to mind would be Liv Morgan against Tiffany Stratton. They gave Stratton the win to kind of prove she belonged to beat Liv Morgan, which was interesting because Liv Morgan was one of the more believable women to maybe come out of the Elimination Chamber with the victory. It kind of showed us that maybe it was what was to come a little bit at Elimination Chamber. Tiffany Stratton got a little rub, got a little heat from winning this match, and she continued that into Elimination Chamber, where the crowd was quite frankly upset when she was eliminated by Liv, who got her payback from this previous night.
Yeah, and I thought she put on a good showing there. You got to build her up that way. We talked about it. She's somebody that maybe can excite us, get us hopeful for, the women's division up there. And I thought this was a good match between the two of them. And, it had us questioning if she was from Australia, with how much cheering she was getting and everything there. So yeah, it was a pretty good match for a Friday Night SmackDown there.
Yeah, and we'll get a little bit more into Stratton and what she was able to do at Elimination Chamber. Let's also note that from SmackDown, Braun Breaker made his debut, defeat Dante Chen from NXT. I thought Dante Chen, by the way, did a little bit of a favor for himself. Yeah. At least he didn't look like your typical jobber. He had some face paint, and I think that kind of separated him pretty well. But ultimately, this was all about Braun Breaker. Kind of a soft launch into the WWE What do you make of that as opposed to, what I was kind of thinking, and it looks like they're going a different way with this, but maybe bring him in hot, bring him in against Gunther, give him a big WrestleMania match. That's how they brought in their women's champ Rhea Ripley a couple years ago with Charlotte, and it worked great for her. He brought KO in, he beats John Cena, so at times they bring him in really hot. They're doing the slow build with Braun Breaker. What do you think of the strategy?
It can work because you do have to be careful for it, because even though, in NXT and he's got the look, he's got everything there, you never know. You never know how the crowd's going to react, how that's going to go. So, you can feed him some of the jobbers, we call them, in there, before you give him a big feud, because, right now, with kind of, and we'll talk about it later, with how everything's shaping up, I'm kind of glad they don't put him in some of those situations, because he doesn't fit right now. So, bringing him in this late to, where they do in Royal Rumble, and this close to WrestleMania, it just wouldn't make sense, I guess, to bring him against one of those guys, especially against like a Gunther, because unless it's at WrestleMania, he's going to take that loss to Gunther, because he can't pin him there. So I thought this was all right, as long as they don't do this for 3-4 months, of every time it's a squash, because they've done that with like, what was his name? Braun Strowman. Other big names, Bronson Reed. I think they were trying that with him too. And then the crowd it's like, okay, they lose interest in that. So they do got to be careful, but I think this is the right move right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. And they also, what they could have done, they brought him in to be a little bit different as far as not giving him the Steiner name. They kind of kept his NXT character with the wolf and the entrance and all that. And so, that's a strategy that they haven't always done either. And I think when they kind of switch up their character, what's over in NXT, then they try something new in the WWE. That hasn't always been great. So I think they did a good job there. But they also could have brought him up with the Steiner name.
Yeah.
He's, of course, Rick Steiner's son, nephew of Scott Steiner. And so, that's one thing that maybe you don't necessarily. I mean, it's one of those things where eventually, like, the fans become smart. They know it. So after a while, you're going to attach the Steiner name with them anyway. But maybe to draw some eyes from some wrestling fans, maybe flicking through the channels, if people still do that, and you see a Steiner out there, that could have been another path they went, but they chose not to. The biggest thing maybe from SmackDown was Roman's meeting with Grayson Waller. So we kind of got tipped off that Roman was going to have Grayson Waller in his pocket. We'll see how much that moves forward. Didn't really pay off too much at the Elimination Chamber, I don't think. So kind of interested still to see if Roman is happy with, I guess, whatever he asked out of Grayson Waller.
Yeah, and we saw the payoff a little bit more on Monday Night Raw. With him and Cody, in that match. It's just kind of weird, because I feel like Grayson Waller had a bunch of heat on him. He was a bad guy people love, or a heel people love to boo, and now they're kind of just using him as a bloodline lackey. I guess that's he and Austin Theory. I guess that's what they're going to do with him. This was fine. It was fun, and we'll talk about it. I was pleasantly surprised with the Grayson Waller show or experience. I forgot what effect. Sorry, the Grayson Waller effect there. On that, but it did make it a little bit interesting, because Roman's trying to just bring all these people in, I guess, to really do, what he said and or what The Rock said, Cody's not going to make it to WrestleMania. So, that's a little interesting story there they got.
Well, it's kind of funny as we're rolling live here that we usually would then move on to Elimination Chamber and review it, but we got to take commercials. We're already up against commercial breaks. So we did take a segment to just review SmackDown, fix some of the mic issues there, and we'll move on with our Elimination Chamber from Perth, Australia. It was incredible and bit somewhat paint by the numbers. I think pretty much a lot of people picked it right, but we'll tell you how they got there and what we thought of their booking decisions. Again, a lot of great matches there. Who ends up going to WrestleMania? Were they the right choice? We'll talk about all that stuff coming up next year on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good I can't even tell it's healthy? How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and we have some really big savings for you right now. Our new crossover sale is underway. New Terrains, Equinoxes, and Trailblazers starting at $23,290. That's right, $23,290. Also, we've continued our huge Sierra and Silverado truck sale with over $10,000 off new pickups. You heard right, over $10,000 off list. Koppel truly has a small town feel with big city deals. We're right down 144th Street or at KoppelCars.com. Stock numbers G260980 and C119824.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of your liberty in pursuit of your justice for those that have been injured. My name is Matt Knight, attorney with Liberty Law Group. If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, call 877-42-LIBERTY. Our relentless trial attorneys are committed to the highest quality legal representation. At Liberty Law Group, we will fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Once again, that's 877-42-LIBERTY.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us as we review Elimination Chamber this year live from Perth, Australia. And when I say live, I mean live. That means you're in the Midwest time zone like we were. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not going to lie. Even myself, who does a podcast, a show on it, I wasn't even crazy enough to wake up that early. Augie, you know, we shot some hoops and then went home and watched it afterwards.
Yeah, I unfortunately, for some reason, I woke up at 5:30. I watched the intro to the men's elimination chamber and I fell back asleep. You know, I was like, hey, if I'm gonna be awake at 5:30, you know, I'm gonna watch it. And I didn't get to watch a single match because there were so many, you know, they were just showing off beautiful Perth, Australia, and then the intro, and I was just dozing off and fell back asleep, woke up, it was over. It was like 7:30. So yeah, I tried.
I was entertained again. They're doing a lot of these. They're kind of making WWE global more so than they have in the past, or at least making more of an aim toward it. So a lot of their main, this was basically a fall in the sword if you're an American fan because of that. But in return, kind of like when they do the shows in Saudi, maybe when they go to France, I'll see how they set it up. Certainly Puerto Rico, it gives you a WrestleMania feel on just a normal event that, you know, probably wouldn't get the same reaction in Detroit or, you know, in Philadelphia or wherever they're going. So it's kind of cool to get kind of a mini WrestleMania there. And of course, being on Australia, KO found a koala that he brought along with him. And they featured a lot of the Aussie wrestlers. So it was kind of cool. I didn't watch the opening matchup, so I can't speak too much on it. Kabuki Warriors against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. The reason I didn't watch that is because that's the popcorn match on a Raw or SmackDown. But it was something, and I heard there were a lot of empty seats. People still kind of finding their seats there. Kabuki Warriors end up winning this. Indy Hartwell, again, a local, so maybe a reason for them to get a chance at it. But right call for Damage Control to win. And Kabuki Warriors, I should say, of Damage Control to win and kind of continue to shine a light on that group as it leads toward the Becky or Bailey feud, I suppose, with Io Sky.
Yeah, it's still very confusing, you know, that they have two names for their factions when they just added one person. But I kind of feel bad for Indy Hartwell because wasn't she was the NXT Women's Champion, made her debut, tore her ACL, I think, on her very first show. And has kind of had because for her, I watched some highlights and stuff. She was really, really good, but having that almost year off, you know, from that torn ACL, I mean, really set her back. So they, you know, seeing her here, you know, you never know because she did have a star in her name. But it was the right call for the Kabuki Warriors to win here. And I'll be honest, I watched like half of it as well. I didn't really tune in all that much to it, but you know, the Kabuki Warriors, they're not going to drop that title before their the Friday night, you know, SmackDown before WrestleMania.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Indy Hartwell. I don't think, and Candice LeRae, I don't even know what her gimmick is. She has pink hair and she's a fairy sometimes. I can't really figure it out. But you know, both of them don't really win all that often. That's why it was kind of surprising to see them in this feud. And as we'll talk later about in Raw, they have found their spot on the card once again pretty quickly. So, the women's chamber match then opens it up, featuring in this order they did enter the ring: Becky Lynch, Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan, Rochelle Rodriguez, and Bianca Belair. Lots to go through here. Becky Lynch, the favorite coming into the match. So starting off against Naomi, I thought was interesting. You can kind of tell sometimes, and Naomi was the victim of it this year. High spot equals soon you're going to be pinned and eliminated. She did a jump off the pod and hit a move. She got eliminated pretty quickly. Kind of interesting for each one of these characters to see where you go next with them. Like Naomi, she's kind of aimless already upon her return. Name enough to feature in this, but still no direction yet. We'll see where they go there. But the real story of this match to me was Tiffany Stratton getting over with the Australian crowd. Now we've seen before, different people getting over in crowds that aren't American, and it doesn't necessarily translate. We saw that in Puerto Rico. So I don't know if it will, but it's not like they were cheering Stratton because she was Australian. They just, she's kind of got this swag to her, almost, beautiful, smart, confident, and just did that. She was just went in the ring. People were just impressed and liked her. They had her going on a roll. Of course, her role led to being pinned eventually by Liv Morgan, but the fans did not like that. I mean, it never felt like she was a legit shot to win it, but it did feel like, after a minute, you could tell with the crowd getting over that maybe this was time for the pin coming soon. And I was just thinking, man, I hope I don't know if they call an audible here or like have her be in the final three, because that will make this more memorable. Not able to do that. Maybe didn't anticipate the crowd reaction. But a great showing from Tiffany Stratton, and her star might rise quicker than even WWE expects.
Yeah, and we were both surprised when we were talking about last week on the show, where we're like, why is she in this? She just made her debut at the Royal Rumble, but a couple matches I've seen from her have been pretty solid. She's a pretty good athlete. Just very surprised at the crowd reaction. I didn't expect her to be so over like that. Try to do a little bit of research on it. like we said, we thought she was from Australia, but she's not. She's not married to an Australian. It's nothing like that. She doesn't have ties.
Actually, dates Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, we found that out. We found that out from Imperium. So good for him on that. But yeah, no, it was a really good Elimination Chamber. So that's now 2 pay-per-views where she's or premium live events, excuse me, where she's kind of impressed. So, we were talking about, 5 years, slow build for her. Like you said, her stock might be rising there, and you never know. Next year, could be the Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, year where they start going on feuds, the 2 young stars coming up. So
yeah, I think she's going to be fascinating. Maybe one of those kind of hot stories. I don't know if they'll have anything for her at WrestleMania, but just kind of one of those hot stories that leads up to it. From there, I believe, let's see, Stratton was eliminated. Then Rodriguez eventually gets eliminated by Belair. She was dealing with some sort of flare up too that she had to overcome over there in Australia. And then the ending was pretty quick between these 3. Morgan eliminates Belair, and then Lynch eliminates Morgan very quickly off that pin to get the win. And Lynch is going to WrestleMania, as the commentator said, to already spoiling the main event, to face Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, and that I felt like the ending was very not done well. Because I think Liv gets Belair on like a roll up, and then Belair's over there like this, and then Becky hits, Liv with the move, and kind of it's fast. It's like boom, 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 but it didn't look clean. It looked kind of sloppy. In there, and we called it from the beginning. Becky was going to win. I think that's the right call for it. But I've seen something where Liv Morgan has now runner-up Royal Rumble, runner-up Elimination Chamber. Who knows where they go for her? We talked about it. I think she's still a rising star. You think her stock has fallen a little bit, but I mean, the right decision with Becky Lynch. And overall, I thought this was a pretty good Elimination Chamber, good way to really get the crowd going with that. If anyone else would have won, I said it probably would have been Morgan.
Yeah. I mean, I could have seen that because they at least have a story going with her wanting payback on Rhea Ripley. I didn't know I didn't feel like that was quite WrestleMania worthy. Does Becky Lynch have much of a feud with Rhea? Not necessarily, but she's got bigger star power. So they went that route. But it's kind of interesting to see. And I thought one of the better women's chamber matches. By the way, Liv Morgan has been in like 6 of these things. I don't know how many they have total, but she's got the record for being in them. So you're kind of right. She's kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right?
Yeah, and they really pushed that this was Becky's first, and she won it. Because she's now, I think, done everything, right? Did she win Money in the Bank? I think she did, right?
She has before.
So she's essentially, done everything in the WWE now. So she's got to be the top one with Charlotte Flair out. So
yeah, so that's the way they're going there. Then we had the Judgment Day against New Catch Republic. Dominic Mysterio coming out with the Judgment Day. He eventually gets booted by the referee for interfering. We talked a little bit about this new name for New Catch Republic. I think we kind of like it. Still trying to get to know Tyler Bate. They started talking about how young he was, and I was like, that guy looks like he's getting toward 40.
Yeah,
but I think he's like 25 or something, 27, something like that. Anyways, he did an airplane spin move that's similar to Cesaro's big swing. So I kind of like that. He got both of the Judgment Day members there. Ultimately, the right call, I think, though, too, to keep Judgment Day hot going into WrestleMania season. No reason for New Catch Republic to get the belts. Baylor hits a coup de grace and hits the pin for the win. Interesting, as I was kind of watching him, though, it looked like he probably injured his thumb, and I knew they do that with New Catch Republic sometimes, specifically Pete Dunne, mangling your fingers. I don't know if he was overselling that or if he legitimately had an injury, because last night on Raw, too, he had it taped up and was kind of sticking out of the action. So I think maybe a little bit of something going on with his finger there.
Yeah, and I did see some pictures afterwards where people got angles of it. And I know you can make your thumb, I'm doing weird thumb movements now, but I know you can make your thumb look weird and stuff, but it did look a little off on some of like the close-up pictures where you show it there. So may have been a little bump there for Finn, who unfortunately, he's been healthier, knock on wood, which this isn't a wood desk, but we'll knock on it for him. He does get injured quite a bit. That kind of stalls a little bit for it, but you're right. This was the right call. Judgment Day, another match we predicted there, but I thought, the New Catch Republic, I thought they were pretty impressive. This wasn't one of those, popcorn or, kind of matches there. It was a pretty entertaining one. And then I love when Dominic gets tossed out. It's the funniest thing. He gets tossed out of every match and he still acts surprised every single time.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's in wrestling. lore or just to kind of think of it to begin with is, why do those heel managers always going to go and hang out there before you get thrown out? But it's fun. They're up to no good. Then we move on to the men's chamber. You have Drew McIntyre. Again, this is in order in which they went into the match. Drew McIntyre against LA Knight, against Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, RKO, Randy Orton, and Logan Paul, the final entrant, which was good, giving plenty of time to draw KO on, with his breath and with the marker there, as they were telling certain stories throughout the matchup. Opening with McIntyre and Knight, I thought was very interesting because, to me, again, when you go beyond the star power, there's KO and Orton's got some star power there, but when you go like things that make sense for Seth Rollins or for this year of wrestling, I thought that they were my two favorites with a heavy lean toward McIntyre. But I thought maybe LA Knight would get in there and maybe get the win so you could tell his story, which was, just getting so over with the crowd this year. Ultimately, Bobby Lashley gets his high spots by spearing just about everybody through every pod before getting eliminated by McIntyre. And then it gets interesting as they open up the chamber for him to leave. AJ Styles gets in to get his comeuppance, his payback, on LA Knight, give him his comeuppance, and he does so with a chair over and over again until LA Knight is pinned, therefore setting up LA Knight and AJ Styles for WrestleMania, I'm guessing. Before we finish the final thoughts on this men's chamber match, is that enough for you as an LA? I know at one time you and I thought LA Knight maybe Roman's opponent for WrestleMania. AJ Styles in name power big, but feud, what are you kind of thinking?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything really significant in the last 2-3 years. So no, this is very disappointing. And we've talked about this. This is one of the things that just really grinds my gears about the WWE. Interference from the outside on these type of matches. I know it's a no disqualification, but come on, have LA legitimately lose. I know you want to build that feud in there, but if that's the case, why is Bobby Lashley in this and not AJ Styles? You know what I mean? You could have built it that way. No, I hated it. I was very disappointed, and the WWE does such a good job. It's scripted, all that stuff, but we're still so invested that we get this upset over, men, wrestling and all that stuff in there. But no, I don't like this. I was hoping he would go for either the United States, like a championship, a mid card, in there, but he's going to probably beat AJ Styles now. Cause I mean, what does AJ Styles benefit from this really more other than being on the card? Man, just so disappointing. LA Knight was just so hot earlier in the year, and this is pretty much where they're going with him WrestleMania, like a non-important feud with AJ Styles.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the memory a lot of the LA Knight fans were hoping for at WrestleMania. But hey, time on TV time's good. He's going to get a match at WrestleMania. WrestleMania time's good too. So that looks at least like where it's headed. Hopefully, I don't think it's quite so bad that it'll be SmackDown before WrestleMania. I think it'll actually make
then we'd have a problem.
Yeah, then you really got a problem. As we move on through the Elimination Chamber match, Orton eliminates Kevin Owens. And who put up a pretty good fight in there as well. Just didn't feel like the right choice to win this match. Then Logan Paul eliminates Logan Paul, and it leads to McIntyre and Orton, which kind of, they've got a few minutes here where they're kind of scrapping. Orton selling the back injury all match long. It looks like McIntyre is going to get in. Then Orton does an RKO out of nowhere before Logan Paul hits him again with his weapon that he brought from outside the ring. This ends the match. This pretty much allows McIntyre just to get the pin with the brass knuckles, as I was trying to find the words there. I don't love it because Paul was eliminated. It's one of those things where it's like they didn't show him on the camera, but in good faith, you trust WWE. Yeah. That means that Logan Paul has exited. And instead, you kind of get the surprise from the guy who lost. They do that at Royal Rumble sometimes. They did it here. Don't love it, but ultimately I do think McIntyre is probably your right choice.
Yeah, and I didn't love it either, but then it got me to thinking Randy Orton versus Logan Paul for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. If that's where we're going with this, I don't hate it. That's a big draw right there on that. But yeah, it's kind of like McIntyre didn't earn this. It's one of those he kind of lucked into it, because Paul decided to take out Orton, and then McIntyre was kind of just there to pick up the pieces. So it's interesting when they do stuff like that. So, but McIntyre was the pick. They're building that story with Rollins, and we'll talk about on Raw. I think he's doing a great job in the role he's in. But yeah, it like with the women's, it's just a little sloppy there at the ending. They need to get a little bit more creative, or not. They're too creative with their endings, and they need to just kind of let it, just let it have an organic finish like that,
Yeah. Bring back the finisher. Just the finisher to take him out. I think would be good and give you a nice surprise, even that they aren't doing any hijinks other than that. So I think McIntyre's the right choice. And as you were saying, though, his character, I mean, when he went to the heel turn, his face character was so dry. Same thing, babyface good guy with a sword. I mean, it just kind of got out of hand, and it felt like his character wasn't heading anywhere. Then there were the talks about his contract, how long it's going to stick with WWE, and you're kind of thinking, well, they seem like they've kind of done everything they could with him, and now he is winning despite other heels that he doesn't, that he doesn't respect. He's getting in brouhahas with everybody in the back. I mean, he's gone from one of the blandest characters to one of the more interesting characters they've had in a long time. And you're right, with his promo skills, he's pulling it off very well. We've got one more match: Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. We also have Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes appearing on the Grayson Waller show. We've got to take a quick break. Once again, we'll get to that and wrap up with our talk on WWE Raw. We will review that as well. That's coming up next year on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you, your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
The place you call home should always be a place of comfort. Warm and cozy in winter, cool and relaxing in summer. If your home isn't delivering the comfort you expect, call Bryant. It's more than just hot and cold to them. It's about providing the best comfort solutions. And Bryant gives you a full 24-month test drive on your home comfort system. Get full details at BryantLincoln.com or call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of liberty for those accused and the pursuit of justice for those injured. Liberty Law Group's relentless trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and personal injury law. Navigating the legal system can be stressful, overwhelming, and full of uncertainty. We believe in treating every client with respect, compassion, and understanding. When you're in need of legal assistance, trust Liberty Law Group to fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. That's 877-42-LIBERTY.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good? I can't even tell it's healthy. How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doan had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doan. For me, the Doan experience has been life-changing.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here on Nuclear Heat, reviewing our weekly review, of WWE and their action. And we love it when you get a premium live event. We usually do SmackDown and Raw. I am Jake Bakoven, your Nuclear Heat host, alongside Nuclear Heat contributor and my tag team partner over here until we turn on each other eventually, Augie Pena. And where were we on the Elimination Chamber card? That's right. We were kind of focusing in on the main events of WrestleMania. Not sure if Rhea Ripley will quite close out night one. I'm still kind of interested to see what happens there, and there's a lot to still kind of figure out. But certainly something that will be Cody Rhodes closing out night 2 against Roman Reigns. We got a little bit more of that as Seth Rollins comes out along with Cody Rhodes on the Grayson Waller show. Of course, Seth Rollins has said he will be Cody Rhodes' shield, and he announces he will be medically cleared soon. So that's kind of a big announcement for the Grayson Waller show. Even then, I already have a complaint. I don't think they should have told us that. I think that if they really wanted to get heat on Jimmy or Solo or Rock or however you want to do it, on this great feud that they have set up, there's still critiques that can happen. I think if we were still left to believe that Rollins needed a few weeks to be medically cleared and then got beat up by one of his upcoming opponents, or you could even do it with McIntyre if you wanted heat in that. I think that would have been a good idea, but they ended up going ahead and saying that he'll be medically cleared soon. And then Cody Rhodes also makes an announcement that he wants to challenge The Rock one-on-one. Rollins eventually will tell him that's not a good idea, but eventually Austin Theory just starts mocking The Rock. They beat up Austin Theory. Grayson Waller doesn't help, which is interesting. But altogether, I think there was enough. It was newsy enough, which you don't usually get news out of these shows. So it actually kind of paid off there, that it was worth doing. But man, that is a long flight to Australia for just a little segment there. But it lasted long.
Yeah, no, and it's true. And we talked about this. So my biggest complaint is, what the heck was Seth Rollins wearing? He was wearing like sunglasses that had like a third eye on it. It just looked ridiculous there. But I guess that's part of his character, is being like a Joker type. The burn it down, all that stuff.
Tough to get a read on what his character actually is, but it's over. So
it's very over. I mean, oh my goodness. Did you, we did, but their entrances, Seth Rollins and Cody, aside from The Rock and Roman Reigns, man, their entrances just blow everything away. They get everybody in the stadium. They were even showing videos of people like woeing too hard, or just going overboard with their entrances there. But for being the Grayson Waller show, as you mentioned, there was kind of a lot on it. I was very surprised. We were both like, well, what are they going to do? This is just Grayson Waller's from Australia, which, fun fact, they said he was a history teacher before he became a wrestler in Australia. So that's kind of a turn there.
Australian history would be interesting enough.
Yeah. They're kangaroos, the spiders. That's all scary. But no, I thought it was. I do agree with you. I didn't like that they just announced he's going to be medically cleared. They could have gone so many ways with that. Cody calling out The Rock is kind of interesting. And I kind of like how they're going to play it off, but are they going to wait till WrestleMania for that? Because they've kind of already got everything for WrestleMania, and he's saying he wants that one-on-one, and he said any place, anytime.
Yeah.
I don't think you can spoil giving us The Rock before a WrestleMania match, right?
Well, it's so fascinating because they don't have a premium live event. Maybe it would. I wouldn't even say it'd be good if they would have set it up and done it here. I don't think The Rock's return is probably bigger, worth more than that. So one way or the other, I think it's headed toward the Saturday at WrestleMania. Is it a tag team match? Is it just a one-on-one with obvious, the obvious fact that Rollins maybe ringside, Rollins and Roman Reigns and the Bloodline ringside? I don't know. I think it's going to be something that helps set up night 2 even more. But it is interesting because, I mean, would you just do a solo match where Cody has to face The Rock before he faces Roman Reigns? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, you could give Cody the win and then have him lose on Sunday and still, have him have some heat coming out of WrestleMania. But I don't think this Cody story can last another year.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
And that's where I'm confused is like you can't waste The Rock's return on this. I think he will lose, but it can't be a one-on-one match to Cody Rhodes like that. All this talk, all this buildup, because I think the card, like, they still eventually want to do a Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
Mhm.
So how do you do that if he can't get past Cody? There's a lot of scenarios they can do there. I just thought it was interesting that he says he wants him one-on-one when they've already pretty much said it's going to be, Cody, Seth, Roman, Rock, right? For one of the nights.
Yeah.
They've kind of mentioned that there. So it just got me thinking, like, when are they going to do this? Like, is it going to happen before WrestleMania, or is this something like that's going to kind of, be in the back burner? And if Cody does, finishes the story there, is it then The Rock? Is that what they do with there? It just kind of left a lot open, for them to be creative with, but at the same time, they're kind of putting themselves in a corner with it there.
Yeah, and I think it continues the kind of this feud is fantastic. I mean, it's one of the best things they've done in years, and I'm glued to my TV.
Yep.
While at the same time, just wondering and pondering if where they're going to end, because you feel like you could set it up better. So it's just very strange, and they've got you guessing, which is what they want you. That's the main things. You're gonna buy, you're gonna tune in, you're gonna watch. But it just feels like it's been kind of thrown together, and a match of this magnitude feels like it maybe should have more thought and more correct booking, and maybe this all could pay off a little bit better. But it's hard to complain about it. Like, it's the best thing in wrestling in so long, maybe since Daniel Bryan and taking on Triple H and eventually Batista and Orton. Those kind of memorable WrestleMania moments. That's what you kind of feel like you have going on here. It just some odd steps along the way. And so that's kind of where we're still at. The final match of Elimination Chamber, by the way, Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. Speaking of over with the crowd, Rhea Ripley at home, showing off. And Nia Jax, I thought, wrestled a pretty good match for as sloppy as she can get sometimes. Did pretty well here. The internet was pretty fascinated with Rhea Ripley's outfit. And in the end, the Eradicator was able to get the win over Nia Jax. Again, something you kind of expected. Nothing, no surprises are necessarily needed here. Rhea Ripley hitting the riptide was kind of difficult, so they kind of told that story. When she eventually got it, that she did get the win, and it was kind of cool. So again, this whole match, this match particularly, in this whole pay-per-view, was very predictable, yet I think did the job here.
Yeah, and I loved that it was a straight, pretty much one-on-one. It was just a good match. And for all the stuff I talk about Nia Jax, she put on a really good match with Rhea Ripley. This was maybe you knew Rhea was going to win. There's no way she's losing in Australia, her home country. She's dropping the title before WrestleMania. But I mean, there were times where you're just like, how is she going to pull this off? And yeah, I thought both ladies, put on a great showing there. And I think this was a good build up for Rhea Ripley to. She's already believable as, one of the strongest champions, but she just took out Nia Jax one-on-one, so that's pretty big. Not a lot of people do that without like there being interference or something. And Rhea kind of just took her to it. So.
Yeah. And again, they at times made Jax take out Ripley leading up to this match. I don't know if that was the best look for their champion. But they knew they could restore Ripley to basically untouchable champion. The next thing that's interesting with her is, do you keep? I mean, she was clearly a face.
Yeah.
In this scenario, if you have kind of the juxtaposition between her and Dominic, I love that. But you could always get her incredibly over as a face if she ever turns on Dominic. And she's kind of distancing herself a little bit from the Judgment Day. The guys kind of do their thing. She does hers. So. Very fascinating just to see where they go with just her. One of the hottest acts they have in wrestling right now. Let's take a quick break here. This is Nuclear Heat. We've got one more segment for you where we will review WWE Raw from last night. What did they do with Rhea Ripley? There was the street fight between New Day and Imperium that was going. We might have seen Gunther's next opponent. And of course, Cody Rhodes runs into Paul Heyman. And so we'll let you know what kind of went down there if you missed it. And if you did see it, just talk along with us, listen along as we fantasy book and kind of think about their next move heading into WrestleMania. This is Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good I can't even tell it's healthy? How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience. Beyond the typical waffle and syrup, don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
Are you searching for a helping hand in life? Look no further. Integrated Behavioral Health Services is your answer. They're your compassionate, trusted partners committed to guiding you from challenges to triumphs. Their licensed professionals offer personalized therapy for individuals, couples, and families. At IBHS, the focus is you. Experience a life-changing transformation in an environment tailored to your unique needs. Visit ibhealthservices.com today and take that first step towards a brighter future. Discover the power of healing with Integrated Behavioral Health Services. You're not alone. Let them walk this journey with you.
Empower a life today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Change is only a conversation away when you choose to share your wisdom, time, and heart with a young mind. Together, we can craft a brighter future, one child at a time. Ignite a spark of hope and be someone's guiding light. Find out more about becoming a mentor by visiting teammates.org. Become a beacon of change by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Thursday, February 29th versus the Atlanta Vibe at Gas South Arena in Atlanta. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 5 p.m. with first serve at 6. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
Happy Hour.
Husker softball in all preseason polls. In the 4 polls, 13th, 15th, 17th, and 18th. USA Softball is part of that. Softball America is one of them as well. D1 Softball.
Top 20 as a team, and they have at least 2 players in every top 50, top 100 poll, with Jordy Ball being anywhere from second. Honestly, I think third was her lowest ranking in some of those. And Billy Andrews. Usually it's those 2. There was one that had Kate Kaneda.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is time to review Raw here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. as we already reviewed Elimination Chamber, a little bit of SmackDown even to start the show. Lots of interesting things heading up to WrestleMania, and we got more of an indication of what some of those feuds might be as we watched Raw last night. So let's go ahead and jump into it. They did open with the hot act that we were talking about, that they end with Elimination Chamber, which is Rhea Ripley, and the cheers that she got from that crowd, along with the boos for Dominic again, is just it's just so fascinating to see those two together. So again, I can't, it's going to be gold when they eventually have her turn on Dominic and she'll be face, or do it the reverse way, one way or the other. The heat will amplify for Dominic, and Rhea will be even more over with the crowd. And it's hard to imagine in either case. And so that was a fantastic way to open up Raw. They ultimately have Becky Lynch confront Rhea Ripley, which again, right idea for a match that I think could headline night one if they wanted to. And she even talks down Dominic Mysterio and said some words that I don't even know if you could say on air, but I'm not going to attempt to say them. In any case, interestingly enough, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch have their words. Rhea exits the ring and Nia Jax attacks Becky Lynch from behind, kind of setting up the theme for the night of Becky Lynch needing to get her payback on Nia Jax. How did you kind of like how all of this was done? And I always am intrigued by the opening of Monday Night Raw, if nothing more than just because famously they've always said, welcome to Monday Night Raw. So it's a big deal to get the open, and I thought Rhea was the right choice.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think, she was the right choice for that. And gosh, I love it because Dominic can't say anything. And I've noticed they purposely lower his mic so you can't hear what he's saying because the boos are loud in there. But, we discussed this a little bit before the show. I liked it. I thought it was good. But, man, Becky Lynch's promos just aren't doing it for me. I thought it was kind of just stale. It's just stale. It's the same thing over and over again that we always have. She's the man, she's this, she's that. She is, outside of Rhea Ripley, their biggest name right now. So, it is good, to have them two feuding. But I might catch some heat for this, in there. But I'm not as excited for this as maybe another fan is. And it's more because I know it's going to be a great match. Becky's promos lately just kind of bore me. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what changed. I know I said they were kind of stale, but it's like, she was so hot not too long ago, just so over, kind of on a John Cena type run. Is this how they felt in 2007 when John Cena was just, kind of everywhere, doing everything? Yeah. Just get that fatigue.
Super Cena.
Yeah, Super Cena. But it's like, I loved everything, she did to Dom and all that, but it's just, there was such a big difference because with Becky, it's kind of the crowd was dead. And as soon as Rhea just responded, the crowd just came back alive, and was just eating it all up. It's going to be interesting for sure, but they got to do something with Becky with just how maybe she delivers the promos or something, because it's got to catch on a little bit more.
Well, and part of it too was Rhea had some really good lines about mommy always being on top, and behind every good man is a stronger woman, and then saying she's not behind. I mean, it's because she's always on top. Just a great lines from mommy, I suppose, from Rhea Ripley, as she I think kind of walked away looking pretty strong here. And if you think about long term, there's no way they have Becky Lynch go over on her because she's the rising star. This is kind of the setup to get the Becky Lynch rub. For at times, I know you said they didn't always have her doing something this year in her title defense. But if you look at year to year, beating Charlotte Flair, and now at the next WrestleMania, like getting WrestleMania wins over Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, for what we would call a riser in this industry, and she's she's the now. So sometimes you say, well, is she the future? Well, she's the now. And this helps further kind of bring that to attention. Again, Nia Jax attacking Becky Lynch is the feud they already have. Looks like something you can kind of fill up some time before WrestleMania. Have Becky Lynch get her payback on Nia, so it looks like you have the right person in the match. Or maybe a three-way, but I don't know if I'd be interested in that one.
Yeah, and no, I wouldn't be interested in that. If it's gonna be Rhea versus Becky, just have it be that. But there's always that concern with Nia Jax could hurt Becky, and that leading up to it, break her nose again, get her going on that Stone Cold type of run she was on. That really created the Becky Lynch character, the man there. But yeah, it was interesting. We'll talk about it later, kind of where they're going with this story, but it maybe looks like they're not going with the one-on-one, right? Like they might try to introduce, and it may be like what they did with The Rock and Roman. They announced that the crowd didn't like it. They could always go, with an audible there.
Yeah.
Liv Morgan's kind of there on the side. You never know what they can do, and that's kind of the exciting part of being a WWE fan at this time of the year.
Yeah, we'll see. And they often do. They do sometimes mess up their great feuds that are headed toward WrestleMania by throwing a third person in. So you can never really know. Again, this is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bachman. He is Augie Pena. We're doing a WWE Week in Review, specifically Raw from last night. The next match that we had to review here, Sami Zayn against Shinsuke Nakamura. The movable force against the, what do they call the objective? Movable object.
Yeah.
Let's say both these guys on losing streaks. In any case, Sammy gets the much needed win. Shinsuke didn't use the mist, which I think is good because he used the mist over and over against Cody and still lost. Kind of hurt a little bit that move. I think he should protect that a little bit more. So now you kind of wonder what they're going to do with Sammy because they've kind of zoomed in on his struggles. Now this is obviously the turning point where he starts to get wins. Possible thoughts here would be, like you were saying earlier, maybe throw him into the Rollins and McIntyre feud. I think that could actually add some interest into that one. Possibly a matchup with Gunther. Hard to kind of predict what they're doing with Sammy here, but it seems like they've either got a plan for him or they're being very mean by not having a plan for him and just running with that as the feud.
Yeah,
as the storyline.
And I think if anything out of the first two things you said, the way they kind of set it up later on in the night, it looks like it might be like a fatal four-way with Gunther for that Intercontinent, with kind of the segments they do later on. So we'll see, because actually I think there are like 5 guys, they kind of tease throughout the night that could potentially go against Gunther. I think Rollins McIntyre, you got to leave that at a one-on-one. I think you can introduce a Sami Zayn because he's just going to take the pin. I think, essentially, McIntyre, Rollins would both look out strong, but then you'd really kill the Sami character there. This was a good match. I'm not sold on Sami right now, which is so weird because last year, I know we say this about so many people, but man, that run he had was incredible. He had a WWE, championship match against Roman Reigns in Montreal. He was the guy. Everybody thought
incredibly over.
He could do it. He was, the funniest act. He had the best story, everything. And then it all just crumbled. And now here, a year later, he's, feuding with Shinsuke, who also was, a pretty big name back in the, just a couple years ago. And it's hard. It is hard to see that, but I think if anything, it's got to be with Gunther. That's where they got to go with that.
Well, and I think even like if they had a pulse of the audience, and kind of knew, because it never really made sense. I get it that they won the Unified Tag Team Championships, but their win at WrestleMania did not break up the Judgment Day, or excuse me, the Bloodline, which was his goal. The Bloodline is seemingly more strong than ever now than it was even compared to last year. So whatever, like they did that kind of win, and now he doesn't have to interfere with the Bloodline. And I don't think that was ever a good idea. I think they always should have kind of kept Sammy in the peripheral there, occasionally throw him into the good guy versus bad guy mix up here and there. I think that would have been better for leading up to Royal Rumble. I think that could have made Elimination Chamber more interesting. And I think he could even take Rollins' spot right now. If they would have put him, just, bring him right now, you could do it. And people would still be happy, just because that's when Zayn was most over. And that's when the Bloodline felt the most over, when Zayn turned on them. That was the best part of the story. With my apologies to Cody fans, I enjoyed the Sammy stuff more. And so, to see that was the potential for it, and now we don't know. A couple weeks ahead, they could do several different things, but we don't know what they're doing to Sammy, much less KO. It kind of a misstep, I think, there from WWE. Moving on from that, Chelsea Green comes out and complains for a bit, which is always good. Raquel Rodriguez comes out and squashes her in the match. Kind of funny. Chelsea Green was trying to draw lines in the sand in the ring and tell Raquel she couldn't go by. Chelsea just does such a good job of being that kind of snotty Karen character, I suppose. Raquel, this is part of her return. It was a good thing to kind of get her going there. And Chelsea Green kind of feels like too, the heel that's not going to lose her character. She's a good wrestler, not seen as like the top of the card, but she puts on good enough match that I kind of see her like the Miz, where it doesn't matter how many times she gets pinned, she's going to have the same character, the same kind of sassiness, and the same believability that she could actually win any match, although not going to win many of them, but could win just about any match.
Yeah, and I'm going to pencil this in right now. Chelsea Green is going to win the Money in the Bank. They are going to bank this because she is so over. Like you said, she is just so over. She can do nothing wrong right now. It's really one of those. WWE's got to be careful though, because they don't really have plans for her. And it's funny because she talked such a big game in this, and then she essentially gets squashed. Which makes it so funny. You don't want that to be. How do I say? You want it to be a little bit believable, because if they do have plans like a Money in the Bank or something like that, which it looks like they maybe do have big plans for her, they keep giving her segments. You don't want it to be that big of a surprise, because then it's like, well, she just lost like 20 matches in a row. What are you going to do with her on that? So, they got a great thing going. They got to be careful with it. They do got to give her some wins, because, man, when was the last time she had a win?
Well, she was part of the tag team championship that never kind of got going because, one of her partners was got an injury and was out.
Sonya, yeah.
Sonya Deville, and then they put her with Doudrop or whatever her name is now.
Yeah.
And that just, was what it was. But, it's kind of frustrating to me, too, because I thought Chelsea Green should have beaten Raquel Rodriguez in that little rumble that they did and earned a spot in Elimination Chamber. And then it was like this match was just to be like, hey, those that thought that, we're gonna rub it in your face that we didn't do that. Raquel is definitely our choice over Chelsea Green. And they're like, oh, all right, well, I guess we'll see. But I think you're right though. I think they could be printing money with Chelsea Green at some point, and they've got to get her some wins to get over there. Next up, we had the Gunther promo, which leads to a confrontation with Judgment Day. Very interesting. Heel faction against heel faction here, and so somebody's gonna have to be turned face at some point here, unless, like you said, they do a fatal four-way or something, bring in more opponents here. But it was Dominic Mysterio who stepped up the ring general and had a kind of a stare down, a confrontation with him before Damian Priest seemingly wanted to brawl. They kind of had to break him up. So still kind of left in the dark about who from the Judgment Day wants to take Gunther's belt, but they made it very known that somebody will. What are you more interested in, and which way do you think WD is going to go? Because I think I can answer that question with my own answer first, is that I would love Mysterio. I think they need to do something for him, if not just for the moment, to get him incredibly booed at WrestleMania. And so I would love that. I mean, that would be great. But what I'm fearful of is that they're going to put Damian Priest there and lead to a cash-in on a lower belt once again, like they did last year with the Money in the Bank and Austin Theory, who cashed in on the United States Championship. Of all the great booking that Triple H has done, that was one of the worst in wrestling, I think, in recent past, because it just tells it fools you. It takes advantage of you a little bit to kind of think historically what we think about Money in the Bank and how big of a win it is. If it's eventually just going to be cashed in on the Intercontinental or the United States, and I get they're trying to build those up, but that it just doesn't, it's nonsensical.
Yeah. And I mean, going back a little bit on that, but for the Damian part, I mean, they had Otis win it and then he lost it out of nowhere, because they've kind of had missteps the last couple of years with the Money in the Bank winner. And they had something with Damian Priest, and they still have something because he's the co-leader of the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And they kind of did hit us with a swerve because, when Judgment Day came out, it was Damian talking, Damian saying, they're hunting for gold. They're coming for, the Intercontinental Champion. And then, Dominic comes in, but I would love Dominic. I mean, he's so over the
he's getting a reaction.
Yes. He has so much heat, nuclear heat. If you were to say it like you cannot hear him, it's nothing like that. And so, is it believable that he could win? No, but I mean, hey, if they pull that trigger, he dethrones the longest reigning, Intercontinental champ. What's going to hurt? He's already, the most heated guy, in WWE right now.
It would heat up Judgment Day even more.
Yep.
And legitimize them a little bit. I mean, I love the idea of it, because ultimately with these long reigns, whether it is Roman Reigns or Gunther, you want to kind of get somebody young and up and coming over, you would think. Cody doesn't necessarily fit that, but he's
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, it's like top of the card star making.
Yeah.
In this case, I think you want to get somebody young over. You don't necessarily want Sheamus to come back and win it. I mean, he's already made man. And that's where within the Judgment Day, I think Dominic's kind of in that step where he's not seeing all that much depth. I mean, gets a completely different reaction than his compadre there, JD McDonough, but he's kind of in that category where it's like, these guys will take the pin once in a while and he'll get heat from the crowd. I'm ready for him to go over, and I think it would be a magical Intercontinental title reign if they do it. Let's move kind of quickly as we're running out of time here. A street fight between New Day and Imperium. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston against Imperium's Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. Woods and Kingston come out in San Jose Shark jerseys and jeans. So that was kind of an old case babyface move. I always kind of like that. I think if they ever came to Lincoln, a Nebraska jersey would go over wildly with the crowd. But watch out, because when you do that, you usually get beat. Imperium does end up defeating New Day in a very hard-hitting matchup. These guys have been going at it. Is this over? Is this just the last chapter in this feud that's going to continue? Because it's hard to tell where to go next with either of them.
Yeah, I hope it's over, because what I'm hoping is the last segment, Judgment Day versus the Imperium, that sets it up.
Over,
that takes it up. They battle for the tag team, Gunther versus Dominic. That's kind of there. I am, because I love the New Day, and there were some great spots in this. Some high flying spots. getting thrown through tables, all that stuff. Man, I'm ready for it to be done. It's really, there's no payoff here anymore. I mean, they're not going to wrestle at WrestleMania. Imperium's kind of dominated here at the end. Just move on.
And if it is done, that's the right way to do it. Is these Imperium, the New Day, again, when we talk about made men, one of the best tag teams of all time, you put Imperium over, who Kaiser and Vinci have looked just, not that great, haven't been booked all that well. This would kind of give them, that step of legitimacy going into a feud with Judgment Day. Indy Cartwell and Candice LeRae then come out to take on Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. This is a squash match. Baszler and Stark get a quick win. Again, probably what it should be. Short-lived 10 minutes in the sun there for Indy Cartwell and Candice LeRae. But Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, a tag team I'm going to continue to be interested in. Kind of mid-card tag team, but they don't have an upper card tag team in the women's division, really. So I guess it's as hard in the card as they can get.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think Indy's just got to go back to NXT. Because nothing for these two. This was your bathroom break match, unfortunately, on there. But Shayna and Zoe, they still have something there. They have something there. They need to capitalize on it. But hey, like you said, TV time is good. So Indy Cartwell, Candice LeRae. I mean, they were on the pre-show. That's two, TV spots in a row. Maybe they're trying to see what the crowd reaction's like, but I just don't see anything there with this.
Yeah, and I mean, you mean sometimes you want to split them up. Maybe a feud between each other can lead to a singles run. I don't think either of them are ready for that. So I think you're just going to kind of see these two in the background. But again, at least getting TV time, we'll see. It's better than catering, as they put it.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre then calls out Seth Rollins after mocking CM Punk a little bit more. And I thought this was, a great promo between Rollins and McIntyre, great on the mic, but they continue to do this deal where, and Seth's whole infusion into the Roman Reigns, Rock, Cody thing is already belittling his title. He just straight up says it. He says some things are bigger than us, including that title. And it just, man, they're just not doing a great job, and they're limited in what they can do. Seth is hurt, not medically cleared. So they've done a good job of keeping him on TV. But talk about how quickly can you bury a title that they were trying at one time to make you think was on par with Roman Reigns. Now the actual champion himself is admitting that it's not.
And it's just so frustrating, because like we said, McIntyre is on a roll. McIntyre is the guy right now. And Seth is always great. I can't remember a time when, Seth wasn't great. He's great, but it's not working. It's just something's missing. And then they're like, I just don't get it. Why would Triple H agree to start belittling the title? I know that's kind of the talk around. Don't acknowledge it though. Make this thing, because what's going to happen is, Seth is going to be shielding Cody. And is that going to take over, the spotlight and main event of what, the world heavyweight champion is? Because we all probably assume McIntyre is going to take that title. That's going to happen. Yeah. But don't make it a mid card, a secondary title, to it, because it it has the opportunity to be big time. I mean, McIntyre is essentially calling, like you said, calling everybody out and doing a phenomenal job on it. He's a heel, but he's still got some,
He makes sense.
Yeah, he makes sense. He's not out of it, and man, this could be a money feud, and they're essentially just saying this is nothing. This title is secondary to the bloodline story that's going on right now, and that's just so disappointing to hear from Seth.
Yeah, and again, I guess it builds up the biggest character they have and the biggest draw they have going. But it just, I think if you took him out of it, and put Sammy back into it, I don't think you'd lose any fanfare from it. You'd get Sammy incredibly over once again, and then you'd have Seth Rollins, who is over regardless of any of this, in McIntyre kind of feel like a bigger deal. We'll see if they could save it or what they do with that coming up. Again, there's speculation they're going to even add more people to this match just to add some heat to it. So we'll see. Then you had Liv Morgan against Nia Jax. Jax ends up beating Morgan via disqualification because as we're kind of telling the story throughout the night, was Becky Lynch coming back and getting her revenge there on Nia Jax for interrupting earlier. And then we had a kind of a backstage interview where Liv Morgan walks by by Becky and says that not everything is about her. So maybe you kind of think of a mini feud there, or Jax and Morgan coming after Becky. I don't know. Liv Morgan kind of feels lost in the sauce a little bit here. And Nia Jax clearly going to continue going after Becky. I don't know what's necessarily next there. I'm happy with the final match is going to be Becky and Rhea Ripley, but what Morgan and Jax do, or if anything at WrestleMania, remains to be seen.
Yeah, and word around I guess you can't call it Twitter sphere anymore. It's the X sphere, or whatever you want to call it. Is they're trying to make a movement like they did with Cody Rhodes. It's the live movement here, and that's why it's so confusing because they may add those two, or they may add Liv, and it just doesn't make sense because at WrestleMania, I never like when a title match is a three, is a triple threat or something like that, because then it's not truly the champion versus somebody, and the champion, because I feel like WrestleMania, that's when you put it on full display and have your champion either be dominant or the opponent that wins is really over because they beat them one-on-one. Whoever gets added to this, Rhea, they're just somebody for Rhea to get pinned with. Yeah. And that just makes it a little bit confusing on these storylines here. And especially because, Liv is kind of an over baby face. She still is, regardless of, where we kind of look at her. The crowd reactions are pretty good. So you have two baby faces. And I mean, Rhea's kind of teetering on that baby face too. So essentially Nia's like the only heel. That doesn't really make sense in like the whole part of the story. Because if you look at it, after Nia was beating Becky at the beginning of the match, she was kind of saying like, I still want Rhea. And that's just confusing to me.
Which did make a little bit of sense because Nia basically beat Becky to earn her spot at the championship in Elimination Chamber, not having to fight for the championship at Elimination Chamber. So again, sometimes when the heels make sense, it kind of confuses you a little bit because, like, wait, I guess they're right. But in any case, we'll move on to the final matchup of the night: Cody Rhodes and Grayson Waller. I don't really have to go through this. Cody Rhodes over here like crazy. Grayson Waller there to take the pin. Eventually, they get to it. Paul Heyman then approaches Rhodes with nameless bodyguards, but he said nobody else from the bloodline was there. Rhodes eventually tells them, don't take one more step toward me. Paul Heyman says, I'm assuming that doesn't include me because he's non-threatening. It did. And so Rhodes took out the bodyguards with ease and then delivered a line that I think really helps this storyline, saying he's not hunted by the bloodline, but he is the hunter.
Yep.
And that's kind of how you close out Raw there. And I think that again, I've said it all before, is like, I get why Cody Rhodes is in this position. I don't quite get it. Like, it's not my favorite thing, but I get it. I think that this helps me, or maybe people that are kind of feel Cody force fed. That was just a cool line, and it just looked cool. So it's like, even if you're kind of force fed Cody here, you're kind of getting into it.
Yeah, and he's delivering. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've talked about it. We're not huge fans, but he's delivering. And the funny thing is, Paul did say that those guys were 3 suspended officers or something like that, police officers. That's why they were there. And at the end, I thought it's hilarious. Paul takes out 2 phones, call Roman Reigns, call The Rock. It's like, That's a little extra, but this segment was after the Grayson Waller. Yeah, exactly. After the Grayson Waller, squash, essentially what it was there. Hey, main event though, making money. It became great. I thought that was a really good segment. It really showed Cody's strength. He's, as much as we talk about what we reinforced him, he's great on the mic. He is great in the ring. That, man, they're cooking with this right now. So, I'm excited to see kind of where they go, because he's going to appear on Friday Night SmackDown on there, because he's on every show right now. So
on The Rock, by the way, also set to appear on SmackDown. So we'll review that next week. Of course, we'll review Raw too as we lead up to WrestleMania here. As we have about a minute, let me ask you quickly what everybody's wondering. As of now, would you favor Cody Rhodes then to go ahead and get the victory at WrestleMania this time around?
I would. I think you have to. You can't have him lose 2 WrestleMania main events in a row. That would be devastating for his character. Hard to see a third one coming around. I just don't see it, because we talked about it. If he loses, then you do have the Rock Roman Reigns potential, which I'd be excited for. But with the way they built him up, if they did that, career killer. I mean, Cody would just be done. He couldn't get the story done 2 years in a row, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble winner. That'd be hard.
It'd be a tough pivot where they go next. So I agree with you. I think he will probably end up walking away the big winner at WrestleMania. We'll talk about it when it happens. We'll talk about it leading up to it as well. This is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining us once again. We'll be back next week.
Discover the difference that